Welcome to Esoteric Recaps. In the opening scene, an alien spacecraft reaches Earth's atmosphere close to Antarctica after traveling through space. Unknown is if the ship lands on Earth or crashes. A husky is being chased by a helicopter in Antarctica in the winter of 1982. In an effort to kill the dog, the passenger sitting next to the pilot fires a rifle and throws explosives. The dog runs toward Outpost 31, an American research facility where a 12-person team of researchers is preparing for the impending winter. The helicopter flies in and lands, and they can see that it is from a Norwegian research facility. Two men emerge from the chopper, speaking furiously in their native tongue as the Americans watch in confusion. One of them detonates a grenade, but he throws it awkwardly behind him. It explodes as the pilot desperately searches for it in the snow, killing him and destroying the helicopter in the process. No one can understand what the other man is saying as he continues shooting his weapon crazily and shooting Bennings in the left leg. In self-defense, camp leader Gary shoots and kills the babbling man. McCready, the team's chopper pilot, and Copper, their doctor, visit the Norwegian base to look into it since they are curious as to why the Norwegians were attempting to murder the dog. There are holes in several of the internal walls of the complex, indicating that fire and explosions had completely destroyed the facility. A fire axe is also fastened to one of the walls. Everyone has died, and one of them had locked himself in the radio room. He is still there, frozen in place, with his wrists and throat slashed in what appears to be a suicide. In their further explorations, Mac and Copper came across a big slab of vacant ice. Along with one or two burned human bodies outside in the snow, Mac and Copper also discover the charred and frozen body of a twisted being that is neither a man nor a beast. They return it to their own base to examine it there. Despite having a warped, malformed exterior, biologist Blair's autopsy only finds a normal set of internal organs. The team's sled dogs are kept in a kennel that night along with a new stray husky. The other dogs immediately begin to growl and snarl in fright at the unexpected arrival. The new dog starts assaulting the other canines after abruptly transforming into a horrific creature with tentacles and crab-like legs. Dog handler Clark, who witnesses the occurrence horrified, learns of it. The horrible dog-like beast appears to be swallowing the other sled dogs as Mac hears the creature's otherworldly groan and the howls of the other dogs. Mac immediately replies by sounding the fire alarm, waking up the entire camp. A portion of the creature splits off from the others and climbs through the ceiling. They fire their weapons at the beast before using a flamethrower to burn it. The thing is an alien entity that imitates various life forms by attacking, either devouring or dissolving them, and then reconstructing its image to appear in the animal or person it kills, according to an autopsy Blair performed on the thing's remains. The group also sees a video of a Norwegian team working in a distant area to reveal a hidden object in the ice using thermite charges by making a circle around it. The next day, McCready takes a flight to the location where the Norwegians were working with Palmer and Norris. They descend via rappel after spotting an alien spacecraft in the exposed crater. Mac inquires about the ship's encapsulation time, and Norris responds that it has been there for at least 100,000 years. They notice a missing piece of ice above the crash site, where the Norwegians had discovered and taken the object. Back at Outpost 31, Mac speculates that after the Norwegians thawed the creature's ice block, it became awake and started attacking them. Blair researches thing cells that evening, seeing them reproduce and assault other types of cells on his computer. As he types his report into the computer, the machine responds, "If the alien reached civilization, the population will be infected and taken over by the alien organism 27,000 hours after first contact, with a probability of 75% that one or more team members may be infected by the alien organism." The group chooses to stash the creature's remains in a room for storage. In a private conversation, the assistant biologist Fuchs explains to Mac that he has been reading over Blair's notes and has discovered that Blair thinks the organism's cells are still alive and functioning in the burned remains of both species. Blair has also proposed that the alien may have copied 1,000 other forms of life throughout space. It starts to stir underneath the blanket that has been placed over it as Windows and Bennings set up the room to house the remains retrieved from the Norwegian base. When Windows enters the space again, he discovers Bennings under attack by tentacles. Windows captures the other members of the squad, but Bennings has escaped through the window of the storage room. They discover him in the snow, almost entirely transformed by the alien but for the horrifyingly enormous and bizarre shapes of his hands. He is burned alive by Mac and the team, who also burn the two other creatures' carcasses thereafter. Blair appears to go insane, killing the remaining sled dogs, crashing the helicopter, damaging Windows in the process, and leaving the crew without chance of rescue after realizing that something similar could take over the globe if it got out. He is taken down by the others, who perceive him as a threat, and is then sedated and locked in the camp's tool shed. The following morning, The camp is filled with anxiety and suspicion because no one is sure who might be the problem or who isn't. He is advised to create a blood serum test by Doc Copper to determine who might be affected. In the lab, Copper discovers that the blood bags have been cut open, rendering their contents unusable. Copper is of the opinion that the blood was purposefully destroyed in order to thwart the test. Due to their access to the blood storage, Gary and Copper are now considered suspects, while Clark is under suspicion due to his proximity to the fake dog. MacReady places all three in quarantine and steps in as the team's de facto head in an effort to identify the potential thing. When Max speaks with Fuchs, he only has a few dubious hypotheses based on Blair's notes. Everyone should make their own meals, according to Fuchs, and only consume food from cans. The power to the lab is shut off by one of the unseen infected individuals. Fuchs is murdered while pursuing it, and a few hours later, Mac, Knowles, and Windows discover his burned body outside in the snow. To avoid being taken over, Fuchs either burned himself to death or died after being burned by the thing. When Mac left Knowles' shack 2 days prior, he had turned the lights out, but now they are back on. Mac instructs Windows to go back to the main building while he and Knowles head to the shack to investigate. Knowles eventually makes his way back to the tent, almost passing out from the cold. He reports to the others that he discovered worn-out garments with Mac's name on it inside MacReady's shack's oil furnace. Knowles cut Mac's safety line and fled as they fought to get back to the main compound. Mac, who is imprisoned outside, smashes a storeroom window to get inside. He prepares himself with a tiny package of explosives, and if they do not back off, he and the others will be blown up. Norris collapses after Childs and the others rebel against MacReady, appearing to be having a heart attack. Norris' chest suddenly expands into a monstrous mouth and chews off Dr. Copper's arms as he attempts to revive him with defibrillator paddles. The thing is destroyed by MacReady using a flamethrower, leaving only its head, which separates, grows legs that resemble spiders, and tries to escape before it too is destroyed. Currently, MacReady is in front of the others in a test to see who is infected. He proposes drawing blood from each person, followed by poking the blood samples with a hot piece of wire. According to the notion, every component of a thing will struggle to survive on its own, and as a result, the blood will change to protect itself. Clark uses a scalpel to try to assassinate MacReady. MacReady shoots and kills him. Everyone is restrained while the test is being run, even the dead Clark and Copper. When Windows gets tested first and finds out that he is human, MacReady gives him another flamethrower so he may burn down everyone else who could be a thing. MacReady publicly accuses Gary of being a replica while he finishes the test, but discovers that Palmer is a thing clone. MacReady's flamethrower malfunctions as Palmer transforms, and Windows hesitates to kill the Palmer thing. Windows' head is bit by the Palmer thing as its entire head rips open and transforms into a huge mouth. The Palmer thing is ignited by MacReady using his flamethrower, which he then blows up with a stick of dynamite when it crashes through the wall and perishes in the snow. Now that he is sick and the thing is consuming his body, MacReady is compelled to burn Windows with the other flamethrower. It is discovered that MacReady and the three other survivors, Childs, Gary, and Knowles, are not infected. When MacReady, Gary, and Knowles go to check on Blair to administer the blood test, they find the shed empty. Blair had escaped through the floor and was covertly constructing a small spacecraft in the tunnels beneath the camp. They tell Childs to stay behind to keep an eye on the camp. When they witness Childs rushing off into the storm, they are perplexed, but at that precise second, the power to the compound abruptly goes out. The moment they know Blair is the final thing creature, they also recognize that since it has no way out, it wants to hibernate until the rescue squad finds it. It is finally suggested that they blow up the base to stop the thing from freezing again after discovering how widespread the virus is and that there is little possibility for survival. Starting with Molotov cocktails, MacReady, Knowles, and Gary start setting the facility on fire. The infected Blair kills Gary as he ventures into the camp's basement to plant TNT explosives. Knowles vanishes and is never heard from again. When MacReady encounters the enormous, tentacle-wielding Bly, his detonator is destroyed. MacReady hurls a lit stick of dynamite at it as a last-ditch effort. MacReady survives despite the thing and the rest of the compound exploding. He stumbles to his abandoned shack to see Childs there, who says he had seen Blair but had become disoriented while pursuing him during the storm. They each sit opposite and facing each other, ready to kill the other at the first sign even though they are unsure if the other is the thing. MacReady is unquestionably not the thing, but there is a good chance that Childs was taken over when he strayed earlier. As the camera pans out to reveal the camp in flames, they sip whiskey from a bottle. The two men sat among the smoldering debris. The thing ends on that gloomy note and with a wiry laugh from MacReady. Like and subscribe for more videos and notifications. Thanks for watching.